The elevator chime cut through the silence of my apartment just as Nora Bailey dragged a silver suitcase across my hardwood floor and said, "Don't treat me like a stranger." I stood in the hallway with one hand still on my office door. Behind her were 6 moving boxes, a dented carry-on, one folder labeled "Hoosing Delay," and 6 weeks of disruption I had not planned for. My apartment was built around silence. The air purifier hummed at a low, steady frequency near the living room window. My server rack glowed behind the frosted glass wall of my office. Every light automated itself according to time of day. The thermostat never drifted. The counters stayed clear. The apartment did not echo, surprise me, or ask anything from me. Then Nora arrived with cardboard, a tired smile, and a university email proving that her graduate housing had been delayed until the next month. She wore a blue striped shirt over a plain white top, travel-worn and wrinkled from the flight. Her dark hair pinned into a loose knot that had clearly survived airport security, baggage claim, and at least one bad phone call. Her arms were folded, but the housing folder was tucked so tightly under one elbow that the corner had bent. I had not seen her in 5 years. Back then, my mother had introduced her as my friend's daughter, the brilliant one. Nora had been 24, already buried in archival research, already speaking in footnotes. Now, she was 29, back in the city for her final PhD year, and the university had somehow lost the room it had promised her. "My mother said your housing office made an error," I said. Nora gave a dry little breath. "An error is when someone misspells your name on a welcome packet. They assigned my room to a visiting fellow, told me to wait 6 weeks, then forwarded me a list of hotels that cost more than my stipend. That was the first anchor. Why she was here? No lease, no affordable hotel, no family nearby, 6 weeks until graduate housing opened. I took the top box before she could lift it. She immediately straightened. "I can handle those." "I know. Then why are you carrying it?" "Because this one is labeled 19th century probate records, and the bottom seam is failing." She looked down. The tape was peeling. I carried it into the guest room and set it on the rug instead of the desk. The desk was already cleared. I had moved my spare monitor out, installed a lamp, and placed the door code instructions on the nightstand. When I turned around, Nora stood in the doorway, looking at the room like she did not trust kindness, unless it came with fine print. "The front door code is the last 4 digits of your phone number," I said. "I programmed it this morning. Guest room has its own lock. Bathroom cabinet is empty on the left side. Kitchen is stocked. Use anything." She blinked. "You set all that up?" "My mother sent me 3 reminder texts." Nora's mouth almost curved. "She has been worried about me. She is efficient at it." Nora glanced back at the boxes. "I really appreciate this, Ethan. I know you run your own company. I know this is inconvenient. I'll stay out of your way." There it was. The sentence people used when they expected to become a burden. I walked past her, picked up the silver suitcase, and rolled it into the guest room. "You are here for 6 weeks," I said. "Not invisible." She looked at me. Something in her expression shifted, but only slightly. "My advisor is not going to make this easy," she said. "Your advisor?" "Chloe Mercer. She controls my dissertation funding until the review board approves the final archival model." Nora opened the housing folder and pulled out a second printout. She already warned me that if my preliminary dataset misses Friday's upload, she will mark me non-compliant. If that happens, my stipend freezes and my archival access gets suspended. Second anchor. The opposing pressure. Chloe held Nora's funding, server access, and review timeline. "What does she want?" I asked. Nora looked toward the windows, where downtown afternoon light washed the floor pale gold. "Control," she said. "She says she is protecting the department's reputation. What she means is that my dissertation is turning into something bigger than her grant proposal, and she wants her name attached to every piece of it. And why not request a new advisor?" I tried. The department said I can petition after the preliminary model clears review. She tapped the printout, which requires Chloe to approve the upload. Third anchor. Why not leave? Legal academic lock. Funding risk. Advisor gatekeeping. I understood systems. More importantly, I understood what happened when someone built a system so only one person could open the door. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Did Nora arrive safely? Please don't be your usual refrigerator self." I looked at Nora, then at the boxes, then at the folder in her hand. "My mother asked me to make sure you had a safe place to work," I said. "That is my practical reason before anything else. My other reason is that I hate badly designed access systems." Nora lowered the folder. You hate them? Yes. Strong feeling for housing disaster. Housing is just infrastructure with furniture. That time, she did smile. It was small, exhausted, real enough to change the room. I pointed toward the kitchen. The air purifier is loudest in the hallway. If it bothers you, tell me. If my keyboard bothers you at night, tell me. If the automation turns off a light while you are reading, tell me. Don't guess the rules. Her eyes held mine. That is what I meant, she said. What? When I said don't treat me like a stranger, she pressed the folder against her side. I don't need polite silence. I've had enough polite silence this year. If we are sharing a kitchen, just be honest. I nodded. I can do honest. I can do honest. Good. Then the air purifier clicked up one speed, adjusting to the open door and the dust from the boxes. Nora looked toward it. Does your apartment always sound like a spaceship? Yes. Comforting. It is calibrated. That is not the same thing. I took the last box from the hallway. By the time we finished moving her things, the silent apartment had acquired the shape of another person. A scarf over the guest room chair, a stack of archival binders by the desk, 2 mugs instead of 1 near the sink, and a blue housing folder sitting on the island, like a temporary passport. I returned to my office after dinner, but I did not compile another line of code. The apartment was not silent anymore. It was waiting. The first crisis came 3 days later. I was at the kitchen island, reviewing a security patch for my company's beta launch, when Nora's chair scraped back hard enough to make the mug beside her laptop wobble. Neither of us reached for it. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. The upload timer in the corner flashed red. Due 2:43 p.m. Ethan, she said, voice controlled in a way that made the room colder, is the internet down? I checked my dashboard. Packet loss is 0. Connection is stable. She refreshed the page. The university login bounced. Again, then again. Access denied, she read. Off-campus connection restricted. They changed the archive server rules this morning. Deadline? 3. I stood. She did not move away from the laptop. Good. This was her work, not mine. Before I touch anything, I said, you approve the connection. I can open an emergency university VPN route through their approved research gateway. I will not spoof your location. I will not bypass their system. You enter your credentials, and every packet remains under your account. She looked up quickly. You can do that? Yes. How? My company has a research compliance node hosted in the same data center as your university's digital humanities lab. We built it for a preservation startup last year. The route is approved, logged, and boring. Boring sounds good. Boring is excellent. I opened my admin dashboard and created a temporary secure tunnel. The screen asked for user authorization. I turned the laptop toward her. Read the prompt. She read every line. Temporary research access. User approved. Session logged. No credential storage. No file access beyond user activity. Nora clicked approve. Then she typed her own credentials. The dashboard opened. The upload button turned green. She selected the preliminary dataset, checked the file name twice, and hit submit at 2:51. The progress bar moved. 12%. 31. 58. The mug beside her laptop finally tipped from the vibration of the table and spilled coffee across a stack of sticky notes. Neither of us touched it. At 2:56, the upload receipt appeared. Nora's hand hovered over the trackpad. Then she pressed the receipt open and saved a copy to 3 places. Only after that did she grab a towel for the coffee. That was 9 minutes, she said. 14 if we include panic. I was not panicking. You nearly drowned your notes. She looked at the brown stain spreading across one yellow sticky note. That note was redundant. Sex. I respect the cover story. She sat back, the towel in one hand. For the first time since she arrived, her shoulders dropped fully. Thank you. You approved the route, I said. I only opened it. That distinction matters to you? Yes. She folded the towel around the wet notes. It matters to me, too. That was the first small shift. Not trust. Not yet, but a door unlocked from her side. By the second week, Nora's stress became visible in the apartment's patterns. She did not complain. She worked faster. If Chloe sent a critical comment, Nora reorganized her notes by color. If a department email arrived after midnight, she made tea and forgot to drink it. If she lost a citation, she stopped blinking as often, like her body had decided moisture was an unnecessary luxury until the footnote was found. I did not ask if she was okay. That question rarely helped people who had already decided they were not allowed to fall apart. Instead, I adjusted the environment. When she shivered, I raised the thermostat to 71. When the dining table filled with paper, I cleared half the island without making it a conversation. When her laptop fan screamed under the archival software, I slid a cooling stand beside her trackpad and walked away before gratitude could become another task. On Tuesday night, rain turned the windows black. The city below moved in red and white lines through the wet glass. Nora stood near the dining table, surrounded by printed census records, migration logs, and a spreadsheet that looked like it had personally insulted her. "The timeline does not match," she said. I looked up from my tablet. She was not talking to me yet. "The 1,912 migration ledgers contradict the census tables," she continued. "If I present this tomorrow, Chloe will say my model is unstable." Her fingers tapped the edge of the table in sets of 4. Tap, 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 tap. Then again. I set my tablet down. "Stop." She froze. "I can't. You have been staring at the same contradiction for 6 hours. Your brain is optimizing for threat, not structure." That sounds like something a machine would say. A machine would be less concerned about your blood sugar. "I ate." "When?" Her silence answered. I opened the balcony door. Cold rain air moved into the apartment, carrying the smell of wet asphalt and the sound of tires below. "5 minutes," I said. "No papers." She looked at the mess on the table. "The presentation is at 9. The data will still be wrong in 5 minutes if we leave it alone." That got me a look. But she left the papers and followed me onto the balcony. We stood under the overhang while rain patterned the glass railing. I kept my hands in my pockets and my shoulder away from hers, leaving space wide enough for the boundary to breathe. Nora wrapped both hands around a mug of tea she had forgotten to drink earlier. The steam blew sideways in the wind. "You are treating the data like a math problem," I said. "It is a model." Her. "It is history." She looked at me. "Meaning?" "History has bugs, but people create them. If the census contradicts the migration logs, one of the clerks had a reason to lie." Nora turned toward the skyline. A taxi horn echoed up from the street. Then her mug lowered half an inch. "The regional clerk," she said. "He was appointed by the mayor in 1911. I waited. The city was negotiating tax brackets in 1912. Underreported migration would make the district look smaller, lower obligation, less public funding required. Her eyes changed as the structure returned. "The data is not flawed. The record was manipulated. There is your argument." She let out one quiet breath, and this time it did not shake. "You just debugged a 100-year-old census." I identified a corrupt input. That is the least romantic way to say something helpful. "Good." She looked at me with the first unguarded humor I had seen all week. "Good? Romance makes people imprecise. History has survived worse." The rain tapped the railing between us. When she went back inside, she did not return to the same panic. She built a new slide titled "Intentional Undercount as Administrative Strategy." At 11:40 p.m., she placed the printed slide on the island near my laptop. No words, just the slide. I read it, then nodded. She smiled and went back to work. The apartment's silence did not return. Something better took its place. A rhythm. Her keys near the window. My server fan behind glass. Rain on the balcony. 2 mugs in the sink. By Friday of week 5, the rhythm broke. I was on a call with Miles Cooper, my co-founder, about a memory leak in our payment gateway when Nora made a sound from the kitchen that was not speech and not breath. I muted myself. She stood by the island, phone in one hand, the other pressed flat against the quartz. The color had left her face. "What happened?" I asked. She posted it. "Who?" "Chloe." Nora turned the phone toward me. The university's open-source repository page filled the screen. Title: Dataset. Methodology: Raw Archival Framework. All of it Nora's, credited to Chloe Mercer as a faculty-led initiative. "My dissertation framework," Nora said. "The raw model, the localized records, the notes I never uploaded to the shared folder." She swallowed. "The review board meets Monday. If that data is public under her name, my thesis is invalid." I ended the call with Miles without explanation. Then I opened it again on my desktop and added him to a secure room. Miles appeared in the corner monitor, dark hair flattened on one side, half a sandwich in his hand. "This better be launch-related." "It is theft-related." "Academic or criminal?" "Both, probably." Nora looked from me to the screen. "Ethan." I turned my chair slightly, hands off the keyboard. Before I touch your laptop, you decide the scope. I can create a forensic image of your system, not browse your files. Miles witnesses remotely. Every export gets hashed. You can stop the process at any time. Miles lifted the sandwich. I will be professionally annoying about chain of custody. Nora looked at her laptop on the dining table, then at the repository, then at me. Do it, she said. Forensic image only. No personal folders unless I approve. Confirmed, Miles said. Recording, witness log. Nora brought me the laptop herself and entered her password. I connected it to a clean diagnostic machine and started a read-only forensic image. Not fast, not dramatic, clean. Miles read the first hash into the log. The apartment went quiet except for the diagnostic machine and the rain starting again at the windows. While the image ran, Nora stood near the island, with the printed housing folder still tucked among her dissertation papers. She had been living with temporary everything. Temporary room, temporary access, temporary safety. Chloe had chosen exactly the moment when Nora looked least able to fight. I hated that kind of timing. At 42%, the first suspicious entry appeared. 3 nights ago, I said. 2:03 a.m. Automated script, triggered local file indexing. Nora's fingers tightened around the back of the chair. I was asleep. And it ran silently. I expanded the log. It did not pull from the university cloud. It looked for raw data directories on your local drive. Miles leaned toward his camera. Destination? Proxy chain. I followed it. Not enough from the public IP. Check VPN asset handshake, Miles said. I opened the university research VPN logs Nora had approved earlier in the week. The scraping script had used a misconfigured faculty maintenance token to request local index metadata. The public IP meant nothing. The university asset ID did. I turned the monitor toward Nora. The proxy hides the outside address, I said, but the university VPN log exposes the workstation asset ID that initiated the maintenance token. This asset is assigned to Chloe's office. Nora stared at the screen. The printed logs trembled once in her hands before she pressed them flat against the counter and read the timestamp again. She stole it, she said. Yes. How do I prove the data was mine before she uploaded it? I opened a second folder from my server. When we fixed the research access route, my compliance node logged packet timestamps and file size signatures from your authorized upload. It did not read your content, but it recorded that your machine generated the dataset structure before Chloe's repository upload. Miles nodded. Supporting evidence, not magic proof. We still need university IT to verify the asset ID. I'll send the hash package to them, I said. Nora stepped closer, then stopped before entering my workspace. Can I see every file before it leaves? Yes. I created the packet line by line. Forensic image hash. Local creation timestamp. Unauthorized script log. University asset ID. Repository upload timestamp. Compliance node packet signature. Nora reviewed each one. Miles witnessed. At 11:18 p.m., we sent the evidence request to University IT and copied the ethics office. At 11:26, an automated response arrived. At 11:41, a human technician replied. At 12:03 a.m., the technician confirmed the asset ID belonged to a workstation assigned to Chloe Mercer's faculty office. Nora sat down slowly at the island. Not collapsed. Saturday. Like her legs had finally decided the floor was real again. I printed the packet and placed the pages between us. She rested both hands on the counter beside the evidence. Not on me. Not around me. On the thing that would let her fight. You kept the access logs clean, she said. You approved the route. You asked. You would not have trusted it if I had not. She looked up. No, I wouldn't have. Miles cleared his throat through the monitor. As heartwarming as ethical consent in computing is, somebody needs to file this before Chloe wakes up and discovers panic has consequences. Nora reached for the packet. And her hands were steady now. I'll file it. I'll file it. I'll drive you, I said. You don't have to. I know. She looked at me. This time, she did not refuse. The ethics office opened at 9. We were there at 8:45. Nora wore the same blue-striped shirt, now ironed, her hair pinned tighter than usual, the evidence packet in a clean folder under her arm. I sat in the plastic chair by the wall while she approached the desk herself. She did not ask me to speak. She did not need me to. My name is Nora Bailey, she told the administrator. I am filing an academic misconduct complaint and requesting an immediate repository injunction under the university's digital research integrity policy. The administrator looked at the folder. Professor Mercer is your advisor? Yes. These matters usually go through departmental review first. Nora opened the folder and placed the top sheet on the counter. This is an asset ID confirmation from University IT, tying an unauthorized scraping script to a workstation assigned to Professor Mercer's office. This is the forensic hash of my local dataset. This is the repository upload timestamp. This is the earlier packet signature from an approved research compliance node. I am requesting ethics review before departmental handling because the department chair is copied on Professor Mercer's grant. The administrator looked at the first page, then the second, then toward me. Nora did not turn. The systems architect who built the compliance node is present if your office requires technical verification, she said. But the complaint is mine. I stayed seated. Good. The administrator picked up the phone. By noon, the repository was frozen. By Tuesday, the raw dataset was removed from public view, pending review. By Wednesday, Chloe was placed on administrative leave and barred from contacting Nora directly. By Thursday, Nora's funding was transferred to a new advisor. The email came while we were standing in the grocery store aisle because I had insisted that tea and crackers were not dinner. Nora opened her phone near the shelf of pasta sauce. Her mouth parted. Then she turned the screen toward me. Funding continuation approved. Advisor transfer confirmed. Repository injunction active. She read it twice. Then she placed one hand on the grocery cart and lowered her head for exactly 3 seconds. A woman at the end of the aisle reached around us for marinara. The store music played some cheerful song neither of us wanted. Nora lifted her head. I still have a dissertation. Yes. I have an advisor who is not Chloe. Yes. And I have to buy real food because you have opinions about crackers. Also yes. A laugh came out of her before she could stop it. Small, bright, the kind that made the fluorescent grocery lights feel less cruel. She put 2 jars of sauce into the cart. Fine. But I choose the pasta. Risky. I survived archival theft. You may be ready? That night, the apartment did not feel like a rescue shelter. It felt like a place where 2 people cooked badly and pretended it was intentional. Nora oversalted the pasta water. I misjudged the burner because I usually ate standing over the sink, and not while someone else argued about 19th century migration politics beside me. The sauce splattered the backsplash. The air purifier clicked into a higher setting, as if disappointed in us. Nora looked at it. Your spaceship is judging dinner. It has high standards. You eat protein bars for lunch. The purifier does not know that. It knows everything. It knows. The apartment, once optimized for silence, now had pasta steam on the windows, 2 plates on the island, and 1 argument about whether census corruption was technically a data breach. It was the first night in weeks where neither of us opened a crisis dashboard after dinner. On Monday of week 6, Nora picked up the keys to her graduate apartment. She brought them back in a small paper envelope and placed it on the kitchen island before setting down her bag. I looked at the envelope, then at her. You got them. I did. Good. The word came out flat. Too flat. Nora noticed. Of course she did. The apartment is small, she said. 3rd floor. Bad elevator. Decent light. Close to campus? 8-minute walk. That is better for your archive access. It is. I nodded. The air purifier hummed between us. The same low frequency as the day she arrived. But the apartment no longer felt silent around it. It felt like something holding its breath. Nora opened her bag and pulled out 3 documents. She placed them on the island in a careful row. First, signed graduate housing lease. Second, funding continuation letter. Third, advisor transfer approval. My housing is settled, she said. My funding is secured. My advisor is changed. Chloe cannot contact me while the review is open. I looked at the papers. Clean lines. No dependency. No emergency. No hidden pressure. Then Nora placed a 4th paper beside them. A printed dinner reservation. No crisis label. No university logo. No shared calendar invite. Just 2 names and Friday at 7. I'm taking the keys, she said. I'm moving into grad housing this week either way, so this is not about needing your apartment. Her fingers rested beside the reservation, not on it. It is about asking whether I can come back for dinner when the case is closed. The air purifier clicked down to its quietest setting. For once, the apartment made the correct choice. I looked at the reservation, then at Nora. You made a reservation before asking? I identified a preferred outcome. That sounds like systems architecture. I had a good teacher. I'm irritating. You are. Effective? She smiled. Very. I picked up the pen from the island and wrote one word under the reservation time. Yes. Then I dated it. Nora looked at the date and shook her head. You date dinner reservations? I document important choices. That might be the most Ethan Scott answer possible. I slid the reservation back to her. Friday, I said. Friday. She looked toward the guest room, where most of her boxes were already packed again. This place was too quiet when I got here, she said. It was calibrated. It was lonely. I should have corrected her. I did not. Because the server hum behind the glass, the air purifier, the clean counters, the perfectly timed lights, none of them had ever answered me when I came home. Nora had. By the end of the week, the guest room was empty. The boxes were gone. The silver suitcase was gone. The housing folder was gone from the island. Her mugs were gone from the cabinet, except one she left behind on purpose, white ceramic, chipped near the handle, printed with the university archive logo. She placed it beside my black coffee mug before she left for campus. For emergencies, she said. What kind? Tea-related. Serious. Very. Then she took her new keys, her dissertation notes, and the last box of books to graduate housing. I went back to work. The apartment returned to quiet. Technically, the air purifier hummed, the servers glowed, the counters were clear, no chair scraped at the dining table, no one muttered about corrupt clerks under their breath, no tea cooled beside the trackpad. At 7 p.m., the automation dimmed the living room lights. At 7:01, I changed the setting back. Too quiet was not the same as calibrated. Friday arrived with rain. Not hard rain, just enough to silver the sidewalks and blur the city lights into the windows. I reached the restaurant 5 minutes early and checked the entrance twice before realizing there was no emergency to assess. Nora arrived at exactly 7. Blue striped shirt under a dark coat, hair pinned up, archive logo mug in one hand. I looked at it. You brought your own mug to dinner? It felt rude to leave yours alone. That is not how mugs work. It is now. The host stared at the mug. I did not explain. Neither did Nora. Dinner had no server logs, no stolen datasets, no advisor threats, no housing emails, and no countdown timer. It had soup, bad bread, and Nora telling me that her new advisor used complete sentences in email, which apparently counted as academic kindness. Halfway through dessert, she pulled a folded paper from her bag. I braced myself. She noticed. It is not a crisis. You say that like crises announce themselves honestly. She slid the paper across the table. It was her public statement for the academic forum. Plain, factual, no drama. It announced the repository correction, her new advisor, and the continuation of her dissertation project. It thanked the University Ethics Office, the IT technician, Miles Cooper for remote verification, and me for building the compliance infrastructure that preserved the chain of custody. The last line read, "The truth survived because the right people protected the record before asking me to trust them." I read it twice. No partner label, no public pressure, no dependency disguised as gratitude. Clean. You don't need to post my name, I said. I know. You chose to. Yes. Why? She folded her hands around the mug she had brought from my apartment. Because you did not speak for me at the ethics office. You did not touch my laptop until I gave consent. You did not turn your apartment into a debt. You gave me the tools and let me stand up with them. Ascood. The restaurant noise moved around us. Plates. Rain against the window. A laugh from the bar. Nora looked down at the statement, then back at me. That is the kind of person I want beside me. The sentence did not ask for a rescue. It did not ask for shelter. It asked for truth. I picked up the pen she had placed beside the paper. You brought a pen. I know you. At the bottom of the statement, under her final line, I wrote, "Approved for posting, with one technical correction. People, not person. Miles will complain otherwise." Nora read it and laughed. He will. He deserves accuracy. I'll post it tonight. Good. And after that, I looked at the rain on the window, then at the mug between her hands. After that, I said, you can come back for dinner next week. At your apartment? If you want. Do I need a door code? You still have one. Her smile softened. You didn't delete it? No. Why? I could have said I forgot. That would have been easier. Instead, I said, Because the apartment was better with the right noise in it. Nora looked at me for a long moment. Then she lifted her mug slightly. To calibrated noise. I lifted my water glass. To documented choices. She shook her head, but she was smiling when the glasses touched. 6 weeks earlier, the elevator chime had shattered the silence I thought I needed. A silver suitcase had crossed my floor. A woman with a housing delay folder had stood in my doorway and told me not to treat her like a stranger. I had thought the disruption would be temporary. A favor for my mother. A logistical problem with a clear expiration date. I had been wrong. Nora did not break the system I had built around myself. She debugged it. The following Monday, she moved fully into grad housing. The following Tuesday, her public statement went live. By Wednesday, Chloe's review had expanded beyond Nora's complaint because 2 other graduate students came forward with similar concerns. Miles sent a message that said, "Your girlfriend may have accidentally started a governance reform." I replied, "She is not my girlfriend." He responded, "The server logs suggest otherwise." I did not dignify that with a reply. On Thursday, Nora came back to the apartment for dinner. Not because she needed the guest room, not because Chloe had stolen something, not because the university failed her, because she knocked on the door with the archive mug in one hand and a bag of groceries in the other. The elevator chime sounded behind her. The air purifier hummed. The apartment lights warmed automatically as the door opened. She looked past me toward the kitchen. "Don't treat me like a guest," she said. I stepped back and let her in. "Then wash the vegetables." She smiled, walked to the sink like she belonged there by choice, and set the archive mug beside mine. The sound it made against the counter was small. Ceramic on quartz. A new baseline. Not silence. Better. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Real trust protects your work before it asks for your heart. Green flag. They help you stand on your own before asking you to stay. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.